Hello there, and welcome to another episode of the Frontend Coffee Break, a podcast where we sit down and talk about everything podcast, right? Everything front-end, taking a cup of Joe or whatever drink you fancy. And today, Ricard, thank you for joining us always.
Yeah, so podcast, I think you're still on the mood from the last episode where we talked about the podcast. It was very meta episode. We're still there, but no, now we're moving forward. Next episode.
Well, that is right. And in a small way, this episode has a little bit of a relationship with last episode, because today we're going to be talking about knowledge sharing inside your team, or just knowledge sharing. If you listened to the last podcast, and if you didn't, go and listen to it, we talked about how the podcast, the Frontend Coffee Break, came to be. And in a way, it was through sort of knowledge sharing sessions that we did on Friday afternoons at the office, where we just exchanged things that we had learned during the week. So this is one of the positive things about knowledge sharing, and one of the reasons to actually share knowledge to foster this behavior.
If we would have a drink every time you say knowledge sharing, I think we would end up very caffeinated at the end.
Very caffeinated, of course. But I'm taking my usual decaf today again, because I've had enough coffees for the day. When are we seeing? I mean, when are we seeing you taking coffee or something?
It's empty glass again. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I'm ashamed for the front end coffee break. So benefits of knowledge sharing. Why would you, as an individual, as a front end engineer, or if you're listening also backends, we love you anyway. Why would you share knowledge? I mean, what's the benefit?
Well, in the end, there's a lot of benefit, not only for the company, but for the person itself. So knowledge sharing is one way, just as the basic, is one way to grow, to make your team grow, to make the people that you work with grow. So knowledge sharing is important, because that's the way we learn when we're doing our job. But sometimes we also need to learn from things that we're not necessarily doing at one point, because we could be stuck doing the same thing over and over again, or something very specific, like, for example, I don't know, maybe you're working with Google Maps related topics, and you're only centering yourself in Google Maps, and you see that in your team they're also working at fonts or in icons or in something else that might be interesting to you, but you never will get to know about that, because you're only working stuck in this. So knowledge sharing does foster you to grow, to learn in new areas. That would be one of the reasons to.
Okay, but that would be as a listener, right? It benefits you as a listener, because somebody else is presenting a new topic. You go there and then you learn that topic. But what about if you are the presenter? I mean, you said the company, some people don't feel that way, don't feel like I'm representing the company, screw the company, whatever it is. So what is it for you? Like, what you again, you're working on Google Maps, you're an expert now, you've been spending 6 months in a project that has deep integrations. What would be the benefit for you to share that with the team?
Okay, me as an individual also, when you're on the receiving end, you're learning something new. But when you're on the giving end, you are also fostering your skills, you're honing your skills, your presentation skills, also your analytical skills, to the ability to create summaries, the ability to structure topics in your mind. And this is, in the end, it is important, and it's something that we need to be able to do. We've discussed this in other podcasts regarding on leadership and this kind of things. So especially if you're expecting to grow into a more leader role, I think you would need to be able to structure the ideas in your mind and to be able to deliver the message. So everyone involved in knowledge sharing, even if you're the one that's giving knowledge, even if you're the one receiving, I think that they're all benefiting from it.
Yeah. The presentation skills are, I think, maybe undervalued, but being in front of the audience, even if it's virtual or in person, having to train yourself in whatever language you're doing it is, in English, Spanish, whatever it is, and thinking about the topic.
Thinking about the topic, structuring your thoughts. I mean, that is very important. And in a developer jobs that we have to be very analytical. So I think it's always very positive. But it also, for example, fosters team building. It's an excuse for everyone to get together to talk about whatever.
Work. You can skip. You're gonna stop doing bugs and defects, and you can sit together and share knowledge.
it should be seen as not working. It is work. In the end, learning and growing inside your role, that's part of the work. It should be on the job. Of course, if you want to do it outside your job, I would encourage it, especially if you love it. But I mean, it is our job to keep on learning to become better. And I think that this is something that you should be doing on your company time, because the company is benefiting for you. Also, something that it does, and that we've seen it, you've seen it, it fosters innovation. You might be, if you're not constantly challenging yourself, you are going to be stuck in the same place that you are. But for example, when you're sharing knowledge, when you're talking about stuff, it fosters innovation. I'm thinking about something very specific. We've discussed it in the podcast, and something that you actually did and innovated in because of these knowledge sharing sessions that we had. I don't know if you can think or remember what I'm talking about.
I don't know. Would it be like the AM forms thing generator?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Precisely.
I mean, this is something, one of the projects that we've talked about that came out of the knowledge sharing sessions. We said, there's this issue. It would be nice if we could do this and that. This person is doing this, and you ended up creating the AM forms generator, which is something that we innovated, or you innovated in.
Yeah, and also I think just as, when you share a topic with somebody else and they have their own backgrounds and experiences, probably they might ask you questions that, I didn't think about this, or
yes,
yeah, this is another use case I didn't think about before. So I think it's interesting for everybody to chip in, and not just, maybe just sit in on a movie, but rather give your point of view. How would you use it? Or if you used it, how did you use that? Whatever it is, right? So definitely just increase the collective hive mind, no? The team or the company. Yeah.
I love that, the collective hive mind. But yeah, especially this is, people have different point of view. People have different backgrounds. They've learned different things, and they might see things from a different angle than you. And that enriches the interaction when you're talking with someone or discussing a topic with someone. So knowledge sharing is good for when you're the one sharing the knowledge and when you're receiving it. It's also fosters the team building, because it makes you feel closer to your team. If done right, of course, we hope that knowledge sharing is not a fight. It increases innovation, or it has potentially the ability to increase innovation. And finally, and this is something, the biggest benefit, I guess, for the company, and this is something that you can always argue in favor of, which is the fact that instead of having various people that have only knowledge, and if you, for example, that person falls in sick and they cannot come to work, or they're on vacation, and suddenly you don't have anyone that knows about it, by sharing the knowledge of the things that people are doing, you create or make the team more resilient, giving the knowledge to other people that can take the place while the other person is away. So that's a big benefit. You don't have to depend on one person.
Yeah, and I think some people might see this, think about job protecting. If you are the only one that knows how this technology platform, whatever it is, work, you think that the job is secure, but really everybody's replaceable. So if you're gone, we're going to find somebody to learn about it. Okay, it's going to take us maybe 2 or 3 weeks to get up to speed, but we'll get there. So it doesn't help anybody if you retain your knowledge for yourself, share it so you can go on vacations in peace. They don't have to call you in the middle of the night for something. So definitely, knowledge sharing. I don't see any negative points.
Sharing is caring.
Absolutely.
So, let's talk a little bit about methods of knowledge sharing, or in our experience, things that we've lived through that have been like examples of how we've shared knowledge in the team that we work with. What would be the first experience that you had related to knowledge sharing in your work?
First experience? I don't know. It's probably, sitting together, having coffee in a very previous company. But the one I wanted to highlight was, do you know the term brown bag meetings?
No. What is brown bag? That sounds very
No. It's safe. It's safe for work. You can Google it. I think I don't know where it comes from exactly, but it's the term you use to have a meeting while lunch. Like maybe you get some pizzas at the office, you get some food delivered to the office, and then you meet together, and then you do maybe presentations or discuss topics. So I think brown bag is more like the food bag, or the whatever bag you use to carry your food, right? But I had this experience in a previous company, actually in Germany, where the company would sponsor these. They would call brown bag meetings on some Fridays, and I don't know if it was every week or every 2 weeks. Anyway, they would buy pizzas or whatever it is, and then we sit together at the table. Somebody would, stand up and present a topic, something, and then somebody else would, and you would just chat, and it would be a way for us to, as you said before, team build, team bond. During lunch, you have to eat, right? And then it's a sponsor for the company. Fantastic. So there was no downsides. It was interesting.
I love it. This is something that we tried to do in Cognizant at Centric a couple of years ago, before pre-pandemic. Javier Mena, one of the guys that started the podcast, he was suggesting precisely to do this. I didn't know that it had a name. Now I know. And the idea was for people, there was a group of people that were interested in game development. And the idea was to get these people during precisely lunchtime, would get some pizzas or something to eat, sit down, and then have someone talk about an idea they had, or they just precisely what you're describing. We never got around into doing it in the company, because one of the things that we were trying to get was the company to help us sponsor this. Like, hey, could we get some budget for pizzas, and we would be sitting at the company and doing lunch, which is technically not work time, but we would get sponsored by this, and we would get together. And this would definitely, for example, foster innovation and foster the knowledge sharing culture, which is something very important. Knowledge sharing doesn't come by force, doesn't come naturally. Well, naturally in the sense that it's not suddenly something that you say, hey, we need to share knowledge and people are going to start sharing knowledge. No, you need to work on it. And I remember that was the idea. We still have an idea of doing that sometime, but never got around doing it. Okay.
What other initiative do we have now at Cognizant Centric that you can think of? What do we do here to foster this culture of knowledge sharing?
Well, for example, let's begin with knowledge sharing meetings. There was a couple of things that happened for the first time in what I joined Cognizant at Centric back then. And that's where I come by my t-shirt today. It's an old t-shirt. We were doing, for example, stand-ups. The entire front-end team of the company was doing stand-ups every day for 15 minutes. Yeah. Wow. And we could do that because back then, it's going to be 10 years very soon for me that I joined the company. The company's 12 years. It's turning 12 this year. And the team was small enough that everyone in Barcelona, for example, we could fit inside one of the bots in the offices. And we would go in a round between us and the people that were in the other offices. I think that back then we only had people in Munich and in Barcelona, Frontend, and we would say what we were doing in our project. It was like, oh, I'm working with this, I'm working with that, and it was very super quick because we weren't talking about tickets, we weren't talking about tasks, we were talking about, oh, I'm working with this topic, and it was super interesting because you got to know what others were doing and bonding, but you also got to, if you needed help in one topic, you say, oh, I'm going to implement this. I know that person has done it, so I know who to go directly to talk to.
So interesting. Now with 120 plus front-end engineers, I don't think we could do that.
No.
Now you go to Slack, right? You go to Slack, you ask who has worked with, I don't know, this Adobe technology or this platform, and then you get volunteers to help out. But I love it. I love stand-ups. I love it when it's quick, not a long stand-up, because then it's not a stand-up, it's a sit-down. But yeah.
It should be a sit-down.
Yeah. What else? What do we have here in Cognizant Centric? We have our front-end monthly meetings.
Exactly.
Which is a monthly meeting, as the name suggests, where all the front-end engineers in the community get together 1 hour slot, and then we chat about different topics. So some people present, I don't know, what they're doing in the project, some success stories, or just, I investigated something in React. Let me share with you the latest news in React. And then just internal updates on the community on what are we doing or what internal projects are we working on. So that's nice. But still there are challenges which we need to talk later.
Yes, we'll talk about later. But this is something that I love about the front-end community in our company, that I don't remember how they started. We did have, for example, we did do meetings. I remember, there's infamous pictures of myself sleeping through the meetings. Yeah, because we used to have meetings from time to time that we got together, like the front-end monthlies also came from way back. And we sat down in a room in Barcelona. It was a room that the sun was hitting just after lunch. And we usually sat down after lunch to have the equivalent of our now Frontend monthlies. And I was, I had just eaten. The sun was hitting on my face. It was warm, and I was just like, and there's pictures.
It just felt nice. It felt nice to do a siesta. I mean, I'll allow it.
No, it was. I mean, it was a little bit embarrassing because there were memes and jokes and things about me sleeping through part of the meetings. It was super hard, but well, the meetings were interesting. But we sat down with the sun. It was a terrible moment to do it. Anyhow, they have evolved, and the nice thing about this one is, as you say, we have a structure where we say, hey, news, we showcase the stuff. And for example, there's also people that are invited, encouraged to do something new. You sometimes talk about, for example, news that have been going through the Slack channel, and you've done some other things in the Frontend Monthly, right? What would be the thing that you are most happy or proud about what you've done, or the first thing that comes into mind?
Wow, I'm proud of everything. I don't know. I'm proud that I don't do it anymore. That's one thing I'm proud of. That people have taken over me and have done it in my place, and I can step back and focus maybe on our podcast. Some people now do it, but yeah, just sharing maybe because you know how Frontend is. Frontend world changes every week. Every week we have new versions, new frameworks. It can be exhausting, right? And if you can have maybe a summary of this month, okay, what we've seen, what's the most interesting stuff we've seen? Oh, we got a major React upgrade, perfect, or something else. Then you can highlight it to the community. People can focus because not everybody has time. Again, a challenge we'll face later. But yeah, that was interesting, sharing news with the community.
I love that. I love that people have stepped up and are doing this as well. And also, for example, we have one of the things that we foster at Business and Authentic is that if you go to a meetup, or not a meetup, but something like a conference or something that the company pays for, and that the thing that they expect from you to give back is like, okay, you want to go to the React conference, you want to go to the JavaScript, whatever. The thing that you need to do is you need to bring that knowledge back home. And the way that we do it is precisely through the Frontend Monthly, so that people that have gone to these conferences can sit down and talk a little bit about just in general terms what they saw. And this could encourage people to say, oh, I want to go to this one next year and things like that. So that is amazing. I don't know, for example, in what I was thinking about, that is somewhat related to these kind of meetings, that company-wide meetings. I used to work in the first company that I worked as a developer, as a web developer. We had these things on Friday. So every Friday, some group of people, we had to see who wanted to do it, and we encouraged people to do it. And sometimes the bosses, because that was a very hierarchical, they tasked some people to actually do a presentation. And what we did is that we could talk about any topic that we wanted. There was no limits to that. You could do anything that you wanted. Even if you want to talk about football, you can do it. And we went around every Friday before the last hour of the day. We dedicated to this. We sat down, and people, those that didn't have serious work to, not serious work to do, but something that needed to be done by the end of the day, we sat down. We saw the presentations. Usually were the juniors, the people that usually did the presentations, but anyone could participate. And the nice thing about it is that people, after the presentation, we asked them like, hey, what do you mean about this? Asking questions, but also gave them feedback regarding on how the presentation was. It's like, oh, I loved how you did it, but you look very nervous, so you need to try to control that, your tone, this and that, and the presentation was nice, but you need to change this or that. So it was an amazing experience because we, besides getting to know whatever they were presenting, we were giving feedback back to them on how to be better at presenting.
That's awesome. And I think that's also another challenge we should talk about. Like juniors and seniors. So what I've seen is that when you have like senior people presenting, it's easier because they're experts. But getting the juniors to present, they might think, oh, I don't know enough, or oh, the audience is very senior. How am I going to present in front of a full room of full senior developers, right? True. So yeah, I don't know a way to fix this. It's difficult.
It is very hard. I've tried to encourage people to do it. So some of my protégés, and it's hard. Some of them do it. Some of them say, no, I cannot do it yet. But well, eventually they get there. Let's talk about knowledge sharing inside a team, a developing team. You and I are sharing one project, although I'm just working part-time there. And there are many ways that you can share knowledge inside your groups. I love one of the things that you do in your team, which is the letting others take the lead role. So how does that work?
The word I'm looking for maybe is delegate or do nothing or just, it depends on the size. So the setup we had before, it was a big front-end team, like 12 developers, right? And the front-end lead was me, and I was a little overwhelmed because there's just too many stuff to do, right? If you're a front-end lead, you not only are taking calls with the client, with project management, you're doing analysis, you're doing estimations, you're taking care of the team, you're trying to mentor, you're trying to solve their questions, and it's just too much, right? With a bigger team, you either go with squad format or you have to find another solution. So what we thought about is let's have a rotation system where somebody else from the team would also have this lead role with me, and we would share accountabilities, right? Again, not to just have less work, but let them grow as well in that position. Okay, teach them how to do estimations, teach them how to actually mentor people. And when people had questions, they go to me, that sprint, they would go to that person and they would go into that role. That would allow me also to focus me on different stuff, bigger picture stuff, not low-level implementation questions about, do I use these regex here or these functions? Those questions, maybe I would rather spend my time doing big picture stuff, right? So yeah, that was very interesting. People would learn more like horizontally, because now if you are in a lead position, you might be asked about, I don't know, analytics and animations and performance and all these different topics that maybe if you're focused on your change request and your requirement, maybe as you said before, Google Maps, you don't see more of that scope. So that was nice. Yeah.
I think that the people that participated there have grown quite well, especially they were sort of prepared to take lead roles when they needed to step up. That's super nice. Of course, we have pair programming. I don't think that we need to go inside that. It's a super easy way to share knowledge with others, just sitting them down and say, okay, you're going to work together. I remember this was one of the first things that I talked about in a presentation in the Frontend Monthly. I think I don't remember, but we did talk about what the benefits of pair programming, because people said, hey, it's just wasting the time of two people. And no, it is not. I mean, if you like the topic, I would suggest to go inside and read a little bit. It is very, very productive. But another thing that we have that I am currently doing in one of the teams that I'm in and I've done in other teams is when you get knowledge sharing sessions specifically for that in your team. Sort of like the front-end monthlies that we have once every, depending on the what the team decides, once a month, once per sprint or something like this. You get together. It could be only the front-end team. It could be the entire team. You sit down and you have like for 1 hour, a knowledge sharing session. Of course, you don't have to take the full hour, but you at least separate 1 hour, and someone needs to choose one topic. The topic could be from something that you're working with and showcase that to the rest of the team, or some new technology like, hey, I think that we should change to font icons, and this is the benefit, and you showcase that, or you go through whatever. One of the last ones that I had is how to work with the resource override. And it was something that we needed in that project, and it was nice to share it and help people, make people their jobs a little bit easier.
Interesting, yeah. I've done that and seen that more in a reactive way, meaning like somebody codes a feature, maybe some sort of crazy animation or whatever it is, and then they share with the team, hey, here's what I did, because maybe the pull request is too complicated or it's not clear enough. Just have a short session. Let me show you what I did and how does it work? And then you just share, because I feel like when we have like silos in the project where you have to ask, let's ask Chucho about this feature because he implemented it, and don't ask me because I don't know, I don't care. I think everybody in the front-end team should be able to handle any situation. Surely you will go faster than me in certain components or certain features, that is fine, but I should not say, that's on my scope, that's on my accountability. So having a knowledge sharing session when you are out because reasons you're not in the project or you're on vacation, I'm hopefully will have a better time fixing defects or whatever it is.
No, but this is something that in my opinion, this is something that you should have. And the moment that you're going to have the session, if there's nothing to share, you could say, hey, let's skip it. But it's important to try not to skip it very often, because it just makes no sense. So it would be important. I would recommend to have at least 1 hour per sprint, per every 2 weeks, every month at least, to share things that you work with and to talk about ideas. Maybe in one of the teams that I was, we had an agenda. Okay, during the sprint, people could add things to the agenda. And during the meeting itself, we talked about also, okay, let's see, this is what we have in the agenda. Let's talk about and fill the agenda. This is some things that you can do to help make sure that you're going to be sharing knowledge. And sometimes even if it's something stupid, it is good enough, especially because you have different level of developers and you want to make your juniors, for example, you want to make everyone included in the knowledge sharing because it is important. Any other? I do have one more way that I'd love to talk in general terms, but I don't know if you have any other.
Go for it. What is the last way of knowledge sharing?
This is something that I haven't done. I haven't been in, and it's when I've heard friends that work in different companies that they have a day to work on whatever they want, and usually that whatever they want includes on learning something new or working on a problem that they usually cannot work because there's no time, because there's no ticket for it or whatever. And usually I've seen this work. After thinking about it, I've seen that this is usually some way to do it in a company that works in a product. I don't think this is something that might necessarily work with us, but I think still it's interesting if you could have once a month, like 4 hours of the month to do whatever you want. But of course, in thinking that you should use that time to learn something or work in internal projects.
Sounds like the famous Google 20% projects where
precisely
5 days a week, 1 day a week, you can do a side project on your own and do crazy stuff, learn, hack, whatever it is. I mean, if you can get your company to do that, then that's fantastic, right? Which triggers my question: how do you get time to do all this? Because
challenges.
That's one of the challenges, right? I mean, now we've set all the crazy and fantastic ways, and it's all rainbows and it's all fantastic. But really, like when you are on a project, you have to deliver, you have sprints, you have deadlines.
Yes.
How do you manage to find time to knowledge share, either as an attendee or as a speaker, right?
This is, I think, one of the biggest challenges. One of the two, for me, biggest challenges that you have, finding time. And unfortunately, this is something that you will have to fight for. You will have to go to your project manager and explain the benefits of having specific knowledge sharing time. Like at least, for example, the sessions and say, hey, and the people that are going to prepare the session, they need a little bit of time to prepare it. You can start with something more easier to prepare. Like, for example, let's talk about the components that you're using. Or just to maybe even talk about potential things to work on. But you need to fight for it. You need to make sure that the company understands that this is beneficial. Is there any recommendation you would do to the time finding?
It's being a salesman, definitely. There's no way around it, I think. But it's not too hard to sell. I think if we're talking, as you said before, we are talking about first the inner team of your account or project. That I think that's an easy sell. Even maybe you have to sell it, just meet for half an hour. Who cares, right? Just do it.
It could be like that, yeah.
Bigger knowledge sharing sessions like we do for the Frontend monthly, where actually 100 people stop working just to attend this thing. So that's harder. But again, I don't think it's a tough sell when you say, hey, we want to spread knowledge. We want everybody to grow. And if we grow, we get more projects, we get better results, more excellent quality. So what's there not to like, right?
And the other challenge would be the participation. Finding time and then finding people to go and to the knowledge sharing session or to actually participate in sharing, as you said, the juniors.
That's
not
hard,
wanting
man.
to participate.
That's hard. It's like, because you have, I know, everybody knows colleagues that are excellent at coding, right? They're excellent programmers, excellent engineers. Yes. But they don't want to get the spotlight. They don't want to present. They don't want to have to step in front of the audience or record themselves, whatever it is nowadays. They just don't want to do it. And it's a shame because they're so good at what they do. Maybe they don't have the people skills or the soft skills, whatever you want to call it. But it's a shame. It's a shame because there are some good people out there.
And as I was saying, this doesn't come on just by itself. You need to foster a knowledge sharing environment. You need to be fostering this. You need to make the sharing in Slack, the talking about the project, all of these things, you need to make them natural. You need to be constantly trying to make them so. And eventually people, as just what happened with you in the monthly, they will step up and they will take the place of others, and they will continue pushing the fostering, the knowledge sharing fostering mentality. And yet you will always have people that don't have the time or don't have the mindset, or just simply don't want to, but you need to push in the sense of trying to encourage them to share knowledge one way or another. There are many ways of sharing knowledge. Just find the way that works for each person, and I think that you're good.
Sounds very easy. I shall try.
Just before we finish, I think we are run out of time. I would like to talk about precisely one of the knowledge sharing things that we have in a way, which is the NetCentric Academy. We are Cognizant NetCentric, where we call the academy the NetCentric Academy, which is going to happen this year in September, October, the last week of September, the entire month of October. And it is the event that we have usually once a year, where we try to we try to hire a team of junior developers back in that front end. In this case, we have other academies, but us as developers, that's the one that we are interested in. We have the NetCentric Academy. That if you are a front-end developer, you have around 1 year of experience, at least 1 year of experience, working experience, you're eligible to join us. So go to netcentric.biz/jobs.
Yes. It's a paid job. Just let the listeners know it's a paid job. You will pay for it.
Oh, yeah. We pay for it. So what happens is that you come to work for us as a junior. We will give you all the knowledge that you need to know, or you need to have in order to be able to do your job. We'll pay you. We'll pay for you. We'll pay your salary while we are teaching you during that month and a half, and then we'll put you in one of the projects so that you can continue growing. So it's a great opportunity for junior developers. Back-end, front-end, as I said, and we'll be recruiting people until, I guess, the very last moment in September. So if you hear this and you see that you have time, please do apply if you're interested. It's a fantastic company. Well, you'll be able to work with us. So that's
amazing.
Amazing, isn't it? Well, thank you very much, everyone. Please share the ways that you think that you can share knowledge in your company, that way that you have shared knowledge, if you like. And see you next episode. Thank you, Ricardo.
Bye-bye.
Bye.